Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, a lot of people look at the cruising industry and say we don't really need the cruising industry. It's a vacation, it's a luxury, we don't need it. What's the importance of it? Well, wait to hear some of these numbers and maybe you'll start to see the importance of it. So we finally have some numbers to compare that came out in the end of November of job losses and numbers and money and things like that. And when we compare them to our 2019 year, we can see the exact cost, well, at least a close proximity of the cost of what's been happening with the cruises so far. So to start off in 2019, cruising industry had 1.2 million jobs and salaries associated to the cruise lines. 1.2 million people had their jobs based around the cruising industry. That accumulates to over $50 billion in salaries alone. So $50 billion of people's salaries just on the cruise ship. And if you go to associated, like people who have their, like a business that relies on the cruising industry to supply, like a farmer or a supplier of goods, then that number jumps up to 150 some billion dollars in revenue in 2019 in salaries. Not money spent. And by the way, the average cruiser in port cities in North America spends over $350 a day in the home port of where they're sailing, because they fly in, they eat at a restaurant, they stay at a hotel, they'll go out to a club. They spend over $350 every single person who goes on a cruise ship who is, on average in North America. And at every cruise port they go to, the average is $100 per person. So if 1,000 people get off at a cruise port, that's $100,000 of revenue spent in that area. That's a lot of money that is being spent. And that's a lot of money in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Orlando and LA and Seattle and Vancouver and UK and Southampton, etc., etc. That's an awful lot of money being spent in local industry and keeping cities with a lot of money going forward, and a lot of salaries. $154 billion in salaries alone. That's pretty significant amount of money. Now for the bad news. Since the industry has shut down, we have lost on average 2,500 jobs per day of the shutdown. And that's up until the end of November. So that includes a portion of the year where cruise lines were ramping up again and bringing more people on board so they can try and restart the cruise industry, plus the ships that restarted in the different areas. So that includes that, not just anything. So 2,500 jobs as of November, end of November, since March, have been lost in the cruising industry alone. That accumulates up to over 680,000 jobs so far. And if the cruise lines don't get going soon, that number is continuing to rise every single day. That's a lot of people's livelihoods and a lot of people's jobs and a lot of incomes for cities. I mean, the city of Miami, the cruise port knows exactly how important cruising industry is to the city of Miami. They generate a ton of money for that city. And so the cruise ports have just waived their fees. We're not going to charge you when you come in and you resupply your ships and things like that. We're not going to charge you. We're not, we know how important it is for you guys to still be here. And I wish more people would realize that. It's not just a luxury. It's jobs, it's income. Yes, it's a vacation, but you know what? We don't need Disney World. We don't need Universal Studios. We don't need Cancun all-inclusive resorts. Those are luxuries, guys. Those are luxuries too. So what does it matter if those all disappear? Well, if we get rid of all of our luxuries in the world, what a boring place we would live in. What a horrible, horrible world we would live in, where you can't travel to other destinations, you can't indulge yourself even a little bit, you can't go and have joy, you can't even go to a movie theater, you can't go out to dinner. Those are luxuries, by the way. Going out to dinner is a luxury. That's not a necessity. You can cook at home. It's even cheaper for you to cook at home, so why do you need to go to a fancy restaurant and have a dinner with friends and everything? You don't need to. It's a luxury. So why not just get rid of all the restaurants, get rid of all the hotels, get rid of all the theme parks, get rid of all the movie theaters, get rid of anything out there that can possibly bring you joy, because you really don't need it. That argument is gotta be the stupidest argument in the world. Because some people do need it. Some people need their jobs. Some people need their salaries. And right now, 680,000 people gone without jobs, without anything. And it's increasing 2,500 a day. So let's hope that 2021 brings that all around and that number starts to go back up to eventually 1.2 billion jobs in the cruising industry. So that's just some numbers, just to give you an idea just how many people rely on the cruising industry. And yeah, I don't get the argument of you don't need to travel, you don't need cruise ships. Well, yeah, I can say that about everything. You don't need your car. You can take the subway. You can take a bike. You don't, see, the argument can go a lot of ways. So if that's your only argument, you lose. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.